It's time for more Manifesting Original Rich-Bixch Experiences. I'm your host, Ava Beilke. Welcome back to the More Pod. I hope that you are doing well. First order of business today is the fact that we are introducing video to this podcast. If you've been listening for a while, you may have seen a little bit of video on socials, but this is one of the very first episodes that will have full video. So if you're interested in watching us yap, in addition to listening, check out YouTube. We're going to have it all on YouTube, specifically, exclusively. So if you've not been to the YouTube channel yet, head over to @themorepod, subscribe. It's full out. You're going to be in for a treat. We've got lights, we've got camera, we've got action. Me and my guests actually put on bras today. So this is big deal. So that's the first order of business. Second order of business is I am sorry to report that we are living in unprecedented times again. And with that comes a lot of questions. One of the questions that I've been asking myself is, what is the astrology? What is the astrology of this period of time that we are now living in? So we're going to answer that question today because we're back for another 3-month forecast. So today, I am super excited. We're going to dig into the astrology of winter and also what the hell we can expect for 2025 here. In order to do that, I'm bringing back the podcast's resident astrologer, KJ Atlas. If you're new here, KJ is a professional astrologer of business, location, and love. And as I mentioned, she is the podcast's resident astrologer. I love her dearly. So without further ado, let's get into our winter forecast covering the astrology from December 21st to March 20th, 2025 with KJ Atlas.
Hey, Ava.
Hi.
This is actually manifested Rich-Bixch experiences.
It really is.
You did it.
It is. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And we've been recording these 3-month guides for almost a year.
Yeah.
Almost a year now. And we've been talking about doing it in person.
I know.
Doing it with video. And the time has come. We're both in LA. You're here for literally 24 hours. Yeah. So we're getting it in.
Yeah, this is what you have to do, guys. Just put it on, say it out loud, tell your friends. The accountability piece is a big deal. Just put it out there, and then you will eventually do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell anyone, then you have no one to hold you accountable. So you have to do that part.
You have to manifest out loud, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to look at you from across the table. We've got 3 cameras going here. I know, we've got 3 cameras, 2 mics. We have an audience. It's very serious stuff, but I am fucking here for it.
Me too.
So, are you ready for a chat on the astrology of winter? I don't know if I'm ready.
I mean, okay, let's just put it this way. Someone sent me a message on my Instagram when I announced my workshop about moon mapping for the year. Mm-hmm. And she was like, are you going to do a workshop on the 2025 astrology? And all I could say was, I am struggling to figure out exactly how to spin this in my Sagittarius rising, funfetti-soaked positive way. Yeah. So the answer is no. So this is about as good as it's going to get in terms of breaking it down.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this. I always love to start with a recap, right? Because we've been doing this. So I think one of the most valuable things is yes, we have this guide, but really reflecting on our lived experiences and seeing how these astrological events have actually come to fruition in our own lives. And so I want to start, before we get into whatever the hell is 2025, with a recap of fall. So in terms of your Rich-Bixch fall, KJ, what were a couple of your highlights?
Okay. That started For anyone that needs a little refresher, Rich-Bixch Fall officially started September 21st.
Yes.
Libra season. That was in Portland. That was a highlight. That whole month was a highlight. I lived in Portland for a long time, went back, visited friends, checked off all my favorite restaurants. It's one of the sunniest months there.
Love.
That was like a reminder of why I made a remote business to travel.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. And then I went straight from there to North Carolina during the Asheville hurricane.
Yeah.
That was not a highlight, so we'll
that's a
skip
low
that.
light. That's a low
That was a
light.
little, you know, people do pay money for low lights. So they're not all bad. They give you perspective.
True.
And then I made it to Palm Springs, and that was the highlight.
Oh my God. Palm Springs is always your highlight. Like,
Yeah.
you're moving there. You're going to live there eventually because it's just so you.
It's me as a city.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sad that I'm not there right now,
Right.
but I'm really happy to be here with you. That was a Jupiter line. So that, for context, if you ever want to go to a place you know you're going to love, go to your astrocartography Jupiter lines because it will deliver. Ava knows.
I'm in it. LA is my Jupiter line, so we're thriving.
Yeah. I would say most of Palm Springs, that whole entire month, was the biggest highlight. And then right up to the end of it, all I can say is, what the fuck was that?
Specifically, the events of November, Scorpio season. Is that what I'm picking up on?
Yeah.
I know. It's a tragedy. But we are going to figure this out.
It's a great experiment.
Yeah. So those were your highlights for fall?
Yeah.
Okay. I was reflecting, right? Because I'm like, go back. What did KJ tell me was going to happen? And what actually happened? So remember how there was that eclipse action with like the Libra?
The last Libra eclipse of an 18-year period.
Yeah. So again, not a highlight, but a low light because people pay for those. I did experience a very hard friendship breakup within this Libra eclipse cycle with a Libra. So I'm thinking that was connected.
I think it's connected.
Right. And
Especially if it's long-term, because that's a really long-term cycle coming to a close.
Yeah. And so I was like,
sad.
ooh, this feels not great.
Yeah.
But it feels like in reflection, it made sense why it would be happening during the Libra eclipses.
Yeah.
So that was a note that I took. On the highlights, though, you also mentioned that like Libra season can also be like Christian girl autumn.
Elaborate, please. How does
So
this
you
fit
said it
into
was cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm not the Christian girl, but I had a cute fall. And what I mean by that is I have new neighbors.
Yeah.
They just moved to LA from London. They're fucking awesome. And they hadn't done like a proper American Halloween.
You leaned into Christian Girl Autumn.
I leaned in. So I showed them the ropes. We carved pumpkins. We did trick-or-treating. We handed out full-size candy bars because like that's
a Rich-Bixch experience.
Yes, exactly. We had poor excuses for costumes, like which is easy to do in LA because everyone else looks like they walked off of like a sci-fi movie scene with their like 3D prosthetics and like professional rented costume garments. But we did have a little bit of a costume and we did go to the bar. So I feel like that was a highlight.
That's a win.
That's a win. That's a win. And I wouldn't normally because I don't like Halloween. But I found like, I feel like when people have kids and they're like, I have a newfound appreciation for holidays. I have newfound appreciation for Halloween just because I got to show my neighbors for the first time.
It can be so fun and campy as an adult. See, that's the Palm Springs side of me. I'm like, drag queens, let's dress up, let's play. I actually didn't this year for the first time in a long time because I was running a retreat in Joshua Tree. So we really lean into like the shadow work side theme of Halloween versus like the campy dress up. But I really appreciate that side a lot. So I'm glad that you tiptoed into that.
We tried it. We tried it. So I think those are the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this like still in fall technically to match some travel schedules, but that's kind of how it went.
Yeah.
A mixed bag. So I guess then it's time to figure out what's going on for winter.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is starting December 21st
Yeah.
through March 20th.
Yeah.
So 2024, 2025. Can you tell us just like winter at a glance, starting off, like what is the high level theme flavor of this season?
Winter is wintering.
Okay.
That is the highest of high level themes. So what I mean by that is when we start talking about astrology, it really easily gets misconstrued into this like, ooh, crystal ball, what does the stars say?
Yeah.
And I always say, astrology really has nothing to do with stars. It has everything to do with the seasons, which is why we're looking at this seasonally. And we're talking about the winter season because astrology, at least this part that I practice, comes from the Celtic pagans. And they love to party, and they were always looking for reasons to party correlated to the seasons. And so they would have equinox celebrations and solstice celebrations, and those are astrology holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would have midpoint seasons, which now it's been misconstrued into this whole like Lion's Gate, Eagle's Gate, whatever. The long-winded way of saying there's a lot of reasons to celebrate. And when we're looking at this season, hold on to those. Hold on to those reasons to celebrate. And think about, okay, if these were the Celtic pagans, they were surviving like the potato famine, bad things have happened throughout history since the very beginning of time. And humans are resilient.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that we Westerners lean into winter. Like,
No.
I don't like it. And I know it's because partially I don't like to lean into it. Like, I don't like frumpy clothes. I don't want to stay inside. It's dark out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people do like it and enjoy it. That's fine. You seem like you would enjoy winter.
I was born in winter.
Yeah.
Ice
Exactly.
Age.
So you're really going to have to lean into winter. I'm getting the fuck out and going to Mexico.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the ability or desire to do that,
Yeah.
lean into winter.
Okay.
There's actually a book recommendation
Is
called
it?
Wintering.
Yes. I love that book.
Catherine May.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
such a good book.
Yeah.
Continue.
And it's like an astrology book without being an astrology book because it's like, here's the energetic blueprint of the season and here's things you can do to like lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
It's astrology without all the jargon.
Yeah.
It's great. So read that book.
Mm-hmm.
Splurge on some cutesy fuzzy slippers and make a list of cozy foods you want to make. And then
Okay.
also do stuff to help nourish your community. That's one big point we'll get into, especially around January when things start to feel a little bleak.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. I think we all have to be thinking a lot more about community
Yeah.
now. I think of even just like you were pretty close by like the devastation in North Carolina, but it's like
Yeah.
I heard some people kind of talking about how they're really like leaning on their neighbors to like, use up all the food in someone's fridge until, you know what I mean? Like there's so many, it's almost like a call to like reconnect
Mhm.
with your local community, hyper-local, because if you need help someday,
Yeah.
who's going to be there?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that, especially as a digital nomad, because it's kind of this sacrifice of I really, really value my freedom and ability to live out of 2 bags.
Mm-hmm.
And when everyone starts waxing apocalyptic, you're like, well, definitely can't bring my
Not me.
sustainable water catcher with me. Definitely can't grow a sustainable garden and bring it with me.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about like the community aspect, and that is hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, like, I've already started to make community in the place that I'm going to spend the next couple of months digitally and then make plans to spend time with people. So I think even if you don't feel like you have community right now, no matter your situation, there are resources and there are ways to make that happen, and try to do it not online. That's hard.
Yeah.
Like we met online, but we brought it offline.
We did. You can meet online.
Yeah.
You can connect online, but you need to bring it into real life to really like solidify.
Yes.
But I wouldn't knock that because I think we both met like a lot of people on the internet.
Pretty much everyone
Great
in my
friends.
life that I love.
Besties.
Yeah.
Besties, business partners.
Bridget, my life partner. Like
life partners.
Bumble 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like all of it is important and great, but just don't keep it online because then that's when it feels really isolating.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so the high-level theme of winter is it's wintering.
Yeah.
So hibernation.
It's just going to slow down. And that part of that is because of that Mars retrograde that we started talking about. Starts in the fall because it starts December 6th, which is technically the fall. And then it goes into February 23rd. So we're like in the thick of it at this point.
Okay.
Mars retrograde slows down everything from your motivation to your libido to your drive to your ambitions. It's kind of like the part of you that gets yourself up in the morning, that shot of espresso is like, out of office, don't bother me, for 3 months.
Yeah.
Practical example, I tried to get a branding project off the ground 2 years ago during the last one. And every time I reached out to graphic designers, photographers, like whatever, it just fell through. And then finally, when that stupid cycle was over, it came together within like 10 days. I was like, I wasted a lot of time just trying to fight against the current. It's like trying to step up on a surfboard, which I don't do.
Yeah.
But if I did, I wouldn't step up on the surfboard at the wrong time, or I would try not to.
Well, and I think that gets back to why we are doing this, right? Because you speak a lot about using the astrology and the seasons and like riding the waves, right?
Yeah.
So like don't try to do something that puts you in a position to be like fighting the waves or like trying to go the opposite way on like an escalator. Like you're going to have so much more like energetic, like resistance to it.
Yeah, life's hard enough already. So just make it easier on yourself.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so should we get into some of the specifics of the key astrology of winter?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so this is going to be Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces seasons.
The final seasons of the zodiac. Winter's the final season.
Okay, and my favorite season is in the midst of all of that.
Aquarius.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the first big thing, and we've kind of been touching on it, is this Mars retrograde. So I remember when it kind of went into its pre-shadow or whatever, I texted you and I was like, is this because of Mars retrograde already? Like, am I already feeling this
Late
shit?
summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it could be. So when can we be clear of this, or like how much of winter is going to also impact this like lack of like motivation and action?
Well, I'll give you exact dates.
Okay.
But think about it like this. We don't go from the peak of summer to orange leaves in a day.
Yeah.
Seasons and all of this is gradual.
Yep.
And so when people are like, Mercury retrograde's over, I'm going to go wreak havoc on everything. I'm like, just, can you not?
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself. Just ease back into things. So the exact dates, and these are not black and white, people, started December 6th, and then it ends February 23rd.
Okay.
But we are not out of the shadow. Brace yourself. Until May 2nd.
No.
So we have that shadow for, it was almost like 8 months.
A long time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 8 months. But I don't think we will feel the same challenging effects. If you're feeling the icky, uncomfortable feelings in late fall, it probably isn't because of that.
Okay.
But December, think really about Mars themes, you know, your motivation, your drive. It's like the yang part of you, the masculine part of you that's like, I need to be on and ready and defensive and like working in my business and hustling. It's kind of like an anti-hustle winter. I struggle with that.
Yeah, same. But that could be good.
Yeah.
That could be really good.
I romance the idea. I think it's cool. But in reality, we live in late stage capitalism.
Yeah. And we're entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
There's that.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other tips for like getting through that or just
I mean, don't end your marriage just because the spice is gone.
Oh, okay, that's tea. I don't know for who. I'm not married.
No, I mean, it's not for any person, but I have talked to a lot of people lately, especially Aries risings, who
Okay.
are like just kind of fed up. And part of that, there's a lot of intricacies to that, but people with like Cancer Mars or Aries rising, they're like, ugh, I'm just frustrated, like things are not sexy. And it's just like, just sometimes there are other things you should focus on, like the stability and the friendship and your values. And you might also realize more of what you want as far as intimacy goes, because Mars rules sex. It rules the monkey part of us that's like, I like the way you smell, And so if that feels like kind of weird or confusing or even tempered for some people, especially the ones who tend to be turned up to 11 on that note all the time, that might feel really weird during this season.
Yeah.
And nobody really likes to talk about that. It's like an uncomfortable topic.
Right.
You're not going to tell your friends, like, why do I suddenly feel like not sexy? Why do I feel like I want to crawl out of my skin?
Yeah.
It might be Mars.
Okay. Well, that's kind of hopeful,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't injure yourself. That's something, too, I was thinking about. Like, this is not a time for you to go, okay, it's wintertime. Everybody has their little Aspen fantasy. Don't go on the Black Diamond if you're not ready for that. What else?
Wait, was I telling you about how I had a fear of chipping a tooth?
Yeah.
What was that? Would be an example. It's like, don't do whatever might cause you to chip a tooth.
Okay, yeah.
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 All those things. I think you're more likely to, okay, let's say, I don't really feel great about myself right now. I'm going to thrust myself into some kind of boot camp workout, and then you actually sprain yourself or rip something up in your back, and then you're just laying in the bed watching Netflix all winter, then you're really going to feel bad. So don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
I think moderation is still really important. Like, slow hot girl walks with Uggs and podcasts like this one.
Yeah. And earmuffs. Cute earmuffs.
Yeah, that's
okay.
a good 2025
That's an
winter.
ad. That's a Christmas list item.
Yeah.
For me.
Check out Ava's Amazon storefront.
I don't have one of those. Okay, so that's Mars retrograde.
Uh-huh.
Next big thing.
The nodes.
The nodes.
So the nodes are not planets. They're little mathematical points where we're on video, so I can do this because I love to talk with my hands because I'm a Gemini.
The theater kid is here to play.
My hands are useful in this situation.
Give it to us.
We have the Earth's ecliptic, and then we have the moon's lunar orbit. And so when they cross and make this cute little X pattern, so we have like, it's like two rings. I described them to this awesome queen the other day as like bangles. I was like, so you have two gold bangles. And then you stack them together and they're like this. And she's like, oh yeah. And I was like, that little cross section is the nodes. But you have one on one side of the Earth and then you have one on the other side of the Earth. And they're always opposite. And then when you're looking at the zodiac, they dance around like this, back and forth until they go all the way around. So they're mathematical points.
Okay.
Showing us where these two essential paths intersect. And it's essential because we can actually see them.
Yeah.
Because we see how it manifests clearly when we witness an eclipse. When we watch the sun or moon cover one another.
Yep. Okay.
So
what does that mean?
Yes.
For us individually on the daily?
When we have a nodal shift to any of the signs, it kind of shows us our collective North Star. What are we going towards?
Okay.
And it's kind of personal. So it's like, what is your relationship to this theme? So since July, roughly, of 2023, we've been in this North Node Aries theme, which might bring up the journal prompt of what do you fight for? What is your center of justice? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you motivated for?
All those like action things, Aries things.
All those Aries things. So the nodes actually move backwards. And so Aries is the first sign, and then Pisces is the 12th sign. So it starts to move backwards. It's the only planetary body point that we use in astrology that moves backwards, just as a caveat. Because that gets confusing. People are like, oh, it's going from Aries. Why wouldn't it go to Taurus, the second sign?
Yeah.
It goes backwards. So
I remember it was already in Taurus.
Yeah.
We don't need to go back there.
Not for a little while.
We do not need to go back there. Let's go the other way.
Other way, please. So we're going to Pisces.
Okay.
Which means the South Node is going to be in Virgo, which is Pisces' sister sign.
Okay.
R.I.P. Virgos, I love you. But this one will be a tricky one. This will be a tricky one because you are going to purge a lot of the things about your life, in your life, that might be shadowy, might not really be working. It's like, okay, it's time to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
That's Virgo. But Pisces is going to be the ones that kind of get a kick of like, you need to chase what you're supposed to be doing in this life. Or,
okay.
Here's opportunities to help you become more like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then collectively, we're going to be thinking about Pisces things, our religious beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, our subconscious, what are we doing here on this existence?
Mm-hmm.
What is reality? I mean, we're literally this week talking about aliens in the ocean, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the precursor to all this Pisces, Neptune stuff.
I'm like, oh my God, of course the aliens aren't in the sky. They're in the water, silly goose.
Oh my gosh.
They're where we haven't looked yet.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's another episode. Okay. Back to the nodes.
Yeah. Back to the nodes. This is going to be a really important time frame. And mind you, this starts January 11th.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of got a taste of it already, though. So we get a taste of it through the eclipses.
Okay.
So the first eclipse of this cycle, these cycles last about 18 months to 2 years. The first one already happened on September 17th. That was kind of like the corridor into this period that really kicks off January 11th. And it's going to stick around and do lots of shape-shifting in the Pisces and Virgo themes, which I'll get to in just a second, through July 26 of 2026. 18 months.
This is really part of the 2025 astrology as well, right?
It
Because
is.
that's like
It's
a big chunk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they change once a year.
Every 18 months.
18 months. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of math happening here.
It is.
Okay. So every 18 months, but definitely a big deal. It's going to impact everyone, but mostly or more so
Pisces and Virgo.
Pisces and Virgo.
And then Gemini, Sagittarius.
Okay.
A little bit more than the average person because they square that axis. It's a little more math, but just so you know, mostly Pisces, mostly Virgo, a little bit of Sag, a little bit of Gemini, and then everyone else depending on your relationship to those signs. But Pisces is everything from mental health to spiritual wellness, your faith in something bigger than you. And now we usually translate that to mean religious faith, but think about your faith that your car is not going to break down. Like your kind of glass half full perspective. That's very Pisces. Virgo is more of like, okay, yeah, but do I have a plan for that? Like, do I have a spare tire in the back? And so it's kind of this axis of, do your plans support the direction you're going? And do you have enough faith to believe that it's going to happen? But have you also mapped things out? Another big theme is mind-body. Spirit
interesting.
Connection.
Okay.
Like let's say you're going through something that's a little more mental or spiritual.
Okay.
Spiritually challenging, mentally challenging. This is one of those periods where you might feel like it starts to manifest in your body. You're like, oh, I feel really exhausted. Or like, I have a lot of muscle tightness. Find a good body worker because there's so much research. There's a lot of amazing books out there. Body Keeps the Score is a really dense read. But more and more, they're identifying that we actually hold on to emotions in our cells. So this is one of those periods where you might start to catch on to some things that you might have just kind of brushed off to the side.
It's true, though. I mean, I've gone down the whole Louise Hay bandwagon of you can heal your life. And I mean, a lot of her work is wrapped in like the physical, manifestation of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like this is maybe a good time to revisit that.
Oh, 100%. You're preaching to the choir, girl.
Yeah, I wasn't telling you. I was telling me. Or anyone else who's interested.
Yeah.
Like, I know you've got it down.
Oh, yeah. But we all need a reminder. I feel it, too. Like, when all the stress of November happened, the immense pain in my connective tissues in my back and lower back.
Yeah.
So we're starting to remind me of what I felt right before I was bedridden in 2013 with what ended up being lupus. And I was like, we're not going back there.
No.
And so much of it is psychosomatic.
Yeah. Stop that train.
Yep.
Did it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. So, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a big theme for the whole year. But it's a big deal because January is that sort of transition, and I always feel the nodes transition.
Do you?
It feel like the week that it moves, it's like a thrust into something new. I feel like this will be an anti-thrust because we're going from Aries to like Pisces. It's like the hot cast iron pan being plunged into the water. It's more like steam. It's like ooh. Hot springs. Steam.
Hot springs.
Yeah. That's kind of it.
That would be a good thing to do, actually, is hot springs.
That's a great January activity.
Yeah. Put it on the travel list, bucket list, 2025.
Yeah. There is a town in New Mexico called Truth or Consequences. That's the name of the town.
Is it a
hot
officially
springs.
registered town, or is it like okay?
Yeah, it's a hot springs town.
Okay.
That's what people go there for. It's kind of north of White Sands, so that could be a cute trip.
Oh, ooh, alien theme coming through.
Yeah.
Okay,
I love that.
That's on the list. Done. Okay, anything else we need to know about the nodes, or like, do we need to like do much more to work with that, or more kind of like observe and kind of think about those themes that you've already pointed out?
Well, there is one little thing.
Okay.
It makes me a little nervous.
Okay, you've been using this language like January transition, and I'm like, that is reminding me of a different January transition.
Oh.
Is that... We don't have to go there.
Actually, we do a little bit. We can speak in code. That January transition was at the very end of a Mars retrograde. Because what happens with Mars retrograde is all that anger is a Mars theme.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, is there a lot of it in the air right now?
Yeah.
And I think it's good anger. It's like this wild, ravenous, feminine anger.
Yeah.
And then Mars retrograde kind of comes through and toss that cast iron in the water. And then all of a sudden, when it ends, Mars comes back from vacation and it's like, you have an inbox of 1,000 emails to read, Mars. And Mars is like, I'm going to throw this computer out the freaking window.
Yeah.
And then all that buried anger of everything that was unattended to rises up. And so it's funny that you mentioned that January transition.
Yeah. Your language is ringing a bell.
I mean, my pattern recognition skills are unfortunately excellent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do we want to make any predictions?
I think the craziest stuff, because by the time people listen to this, a lot of the craziness will have already occurred.
Okay.
And we'll kind of be in this mass delusion. That's what makes me nervous. That's what I was going to say makes me nervous.
Okay.
We're already experiencing it. Like, I look around and I'm like, the world has gone insane. And I'm an astrologer.
Yeah.
Like, people think I'm insane. And then I look around and I'm like, well, I do actually have a science degree. Like, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And I'm like, the rest of the world is nuts right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much craziness. The things people say, the pathways to logic.
Yeah.
Blow my mind. And so I'm worried a little bit about the transition from the end of January to mid-February.
Okay.
Because the North Node that would have just moved into Pisces is going to team up and meet with Neptune, which is the second most outer planet. These outer planets are what has been creating so much chaos in the fall.
Okay.
Because, we've talked about it a little bit before. Pluto is at the final stages of Pluto Capricorn since 2008. So, that was coming to a close.
Yeah.
But Neptune is also doing the same thing in 2025. That's coming to a close. And that's been a cycle for pretty much equally as long, a little shorter. We're talking about 2013. But that's a little scarier to me because Pluto is more about the plutocracy. We're seeing people from power fall from grace. You know, we're seeing like the corruption come out. Like if someone were to say like, this very famous person did this awful, heinous thing, we would just be like, it's a Tuesday. But this is a little different because it's more about a distortion of our vision.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of lack of clarity. People who are just maybe waking up, maybe their illusions have shattered and they're suddenly like shocked.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of people who are like, oh my God, what did I do? You know, it's the FAFO. It'll be the fuck around, find out.
Oh, fuck around and find out. I've never heard it as FAFO. That's cute.
It will be the FO phase.
Find out.
It could be that. It could also be this, there's kind of this mass conversion to hipster Christianity happening.
Ew.
I know.
Ew.
Yeah, I'll say ew because if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are like not into that anyway. But you know what I mean? It's like, I think there's just everyone, the root of it is everyone's grasping for a sense of community, a sense of control, a sense of trying to make it make sense because nothing does right now. Have you heard the term extinction burst?
No.
Like there's so much craziness happens. Like just Google that. Just get into your own rabbit hole there.
Okay. Extinction burst.
Yeah. Where it's just
hole.
like,
okay,
we live in, like you said, we live in unprecedented times.
Yeah.
Everything is nuts.
Yeah.
But everything that we're experiencing, for the most part, technology aside, has happened before.
I think that's the worst part.
The technology edition?
No, the fact that it's happened before.
Yeah.
And now it happens again.
Yeah.
That, to me, sucks.
Yeah, I remember being like in the 5th grade and my teacher being like, you learn history so you don't repeat it.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me. I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, why would we ever do that again?
Yeah. Someone was skipping on history class.
Yeah, well, now they want to burn it all down. But
history class no longer exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need that because we have Neptune and Jesus, baby.
Oh, my God.
So February is going to be a really interesting time of people trying to make sense of things. And I think it's just going to feel like chaos. Like it feels like an abstract painting that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. So if we're anticipating this chaos and this delusion.
Stay offline.
Okay. I was going to say, like, what do you recommend that we do? Stay offline. What if you have a job online?
I mean, we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah.
For me, I'm really going to try to, I already do this, limit news. This is one of those periods where it's like, do you really need to be informed or are you just looking for a hit?
Yeah.
I have to tell myself that. I don't need to be informed. I'm just looking for that, dopamine.
A little drama for your day?
A little bit, yeah. And I think it's going to be really important to apply the Aquarian, Saturnian discipline, because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. I wore my Saturn earrings for you.
I love them. They're
because
so cute.
We need to channel Saturn this year. Saturn is about limitations and restrictions and putting some boundaries in place. And you're really good at that, and most of us are not. So put some boundaries in place and be like, yeah, I'm not going to doom scroll. Yeah. And I'm not going to buy into every theory. And maybe I will research a little deeper beyond what any given news channel says. I'm not going to be here and be like, don't trust the mainstream media. You're never going to hear me say that. But any of it, just look a little deeper because I think everyone's going to feel kind of confused. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it is a numbness. You know what I mean? Like so much has happened that it's just kind of like a lot of people wax from being extremely empathic to deeply desensitized.
Sure.
Because how can you manage? How can you manage knowing so much about people that you will never ever meet, that you will never ever be impacted by knowing, but you empathize as humans? That's not healthy. So I'm like, if we can take late Jan, February off, and just really invest in whatever community means, friendships, maybe host a potluck, maybe even have like a small group of people that get together on Zoom or on the internet. Like that's fine, but scrolling is what's going to be tricky.
Okay. So a bit of like a digital detox.
Yeah.
Some more boundaries, which I absolutely love. Since we've been on books for this episode, I will add another one. Boundary Boss by Terry Cole.
I love her.
She's so cool. I want her to be like my auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love. But that's a great book for boundaries. And it sounds like we may need some more.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, always.
But we always want to lean into that anyway in Capricorn season, Aquarius season, because of that Saturn nature.
Yeah.
So the boundaries like, yeah, I'm not going to stay out past midnight because one, it's super cold. Like nothing good happens after midnight. I'm going to go home, or maybe I'm going to stay in and I'm going to make a nutritious soup instead of cooking boxed mac and cheese for the third time this week. You know, it's those kind of boundaries when it's really easy to just throw in the towel and be like, I have seasonal depression.
Yeah.
That's a really real thing too. So whatever you feel like you need to do lifestyle-wise to kick that, because it might be a little stronger this year.
Yeah. And you don't have to pay a therapist to tell you to get a happy lamp. We're just saying it right here.
Yeah. And go ahead, now that it's not quite there yet, book that trip.
Yes.
Get the cruise. Book a trip to Mexico ahead of time, because you know by February you're going to want to do it.
We have talked about this before, like something to look forward to. And if it's booking that trip, I am so here for it.
Yeah. Cruises can be really cheap too if you're like, okay, I'm balling on a budget. I mean, it's definitely, I cannot see you enjoying that.
No, I was hoping cruises would like die along with the pandemic. Like the fact that cruises still exist in 2024, they should not have made it past 2020.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my most viewed reels of all time is me talking shit about cruises. Yeah. Hate it.
I believe it. Yeah. I can't. I'm like, because every cruise subtly smells like cigarette smoke. I know you would hate that. And, you know, just the theme of it, the campiness of it, of like, we're going to do a hula luau on the roof by the Lido deck. I just think you would hate it. But there is a time and place. So if you need a cheap way to get out.
Are they cheap?
Sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Like Carnival has them for like $200. I'm not endorsing that at all. Do not say KJ told you to do that. But if it comes down to it, it's better than sitting at home and rewatching Breaking Bad for the third time. That's another thing too. We were talking about how like TV shows can be so heavy.
Yeah.
Like try to find something. Maybe we should cultivate a list of like actually like happy, good dopamine things to watch.
A playlist.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to watch the shows that need a palate cleanser. Yeah.
Like, okay, out the gate, if you need anything that's a palate cleanser, Barefoot Contessa.
Schitt's Creek. David and Alexis will always be there for you. They're always there for me. And Moira.
Yeah.
And Johnny. I mean, all of them.
Our answers were personality coded.
Schitt's Creek. Wait, what was yours?
Barefoot Contessa.
I've never heard of that.
Anna Garten.
Where do you watch it?
HBO.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
She's like, let's make a roast chicken. It's fabulous. Michael and Michael are coming over for Cosmos.
Sounds fun.
It's awesome. And she pops her collar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might try it.
Yeah. It's a good recommendation, and maybe you'll get inspired to cook something and not order in.
Once I get a kitchen,
yeah,
I will be cooking. Okay, so what's the next one?
The next thing to celebrate, and then I want to go back and recap new moons and full moons.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I think the next thing to celebrate is Mars retrograde ending February 23rd, because that's just going to be, like I said, do it slowly. We're not going to run out the gate, because when we do, then we get, just picture the scene. The guy with the pitchfork and the horns on the White House steps.
Oh, no.
Like, that's like the first day out of Mars retrograde, you know? We're not going back to that. No, we are not.
I don't want to picture that.
No. Okay, palette cleanser.
Different one.
Anna Garten.
Rewind. Give us a new visual.
New visual. The horse race is over.
Okay.
And no one got injured.
Okay.
There's a winner, and he's a triple crown. And now it's time for a nap. And the horsey is maybe not going to race again, because it's like, how do you top that? We just exerted all this energy. We're good. Now we're going out to the pasture to live a pampered life.
Okay.
That's what we can do. That's Pisces season. So we have
Pisces
Saturn ruled Cap season,
yes.
Saturn ruled Aquarius season,
yes,
and then Jupiter comes in. Jupiter and Saturn, we've talked about this before, how they're completely opposites. Mm-hmm. You're Saturn, I'm Jupiter, if you need an analogy. And you need both of them. You do. Because Saturn keeps us safe, keeps us healthy. It reminds us of restrictions and boundaries and rules and bedtimes. And it's absolutely necessary. And then sometimes you need your once in a while cigarette, or you need a donut, or you need to go to Vegas. And maybe you do need to stay up until 2 a.m. And maybe you do need to have a little bit of glass half full optimism on things that are really never going to work out. And that's Jupiter. And you need both of them, like an inhale and an exhale.
Yeah.
So we go from Saturn, Jupiter.
Yeah. It's going to feel kind of like whiplashy.
More like a...
Or you said celebratory, so breath of fresh air.
A piñata.
Oh.
We go from like solemn, cozy winter to, okay, March is going to be an eclipse season month. Like March is delivering some wild curveballs. And with Pisces, it's kind of like, okay, is this a piñata filled with bubblegum and candy, or like joints and condoms? Like, what's the theme here? You know, like which direction are we going in? Because you could get both, but until you bust it open, you really have no idea.
Yeah.
You can make it your own.
Okay.
But I do think it's kind of like these extremes that we're oscillating between, like extreme darkness and coldness, and then loosey-goosey, no rules apply.
Mm-hmm. This has been so... I was like, what the hell are we talking about? We're talking about the transition from Capricorn and Aquarius to Pisces.
Yeah,
seasons.
so we're going from December to March. It's
because I got so wrapped up in I'm at the horse race. So tonally, you're saying January, February, Saturn, and March. I mean, Pisces.
Yeah, so then
Jupiter.
We can't really say it by the months, but you know what I mean.
I know, you know what I mean.
It's like the 20th of every month is like the transition into the next thing.
Yes.
So yeah, from February, I think it's the 19th to like March 20th, that's kind of that mystical volcanic explosion that's like, oh, that's a change. We didn't see that coming. There's all kinds of new, fresh energy because we've been really sleepy and tired all of January and February. Yeah. And now the motor's starting to run. Now we have this endorphin high because we just won the horse race. Like, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, we put all this grunt work in to try to maintain and get through. And then now it's like, are we partying? Are we resting? But I don't think it will be difficult, but it is going to be moving fast-paced after. It will start to move much faster after February 23rd. The pace of life.
Okay.
The news cycle pace, and the way people are interacting and planning, and life will really start to come online.
Okay. So, like, if that sounds like a lot, use the wintering to winter. Like, really, like, lean into that. Mm-hmm. Because, I don't know, like, I really love hibernating. As a human design projector, the cave is my safe place. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like a little more hectic come spring.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to winter, honestly.
It'll be good for your nervous system.
Yes. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah. I think a winter is necessary. Mm-hmm. The rest is necessary. March is going to bring the twisty turns and the eclipses that started back around September 17th, beginning of October. Mm-hmm. Because as we move further into March, that will be spring, but we'll wrap up that entire Aries North Node cycle. Okay. Totally done. One more eclipse left on March 29th. But on March 14th, which is still in the middle of this winter period, that we have another eclipse. And it is on the Pisces-Virgo axis. And so it's bringing up everything that started back in September.
Okay. Okay. I'm reading through a list of important key astrology of winter because I do want to get a little bit more into high level 2025.
Okay.
But are there any other key
No, let's
astrological
talk about 2025
events for winter, specifically December 21st to March?
The new and full moons.
Well, yeah. Okay. So moons are next.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let's talk 2025. That'll be
At the very end.
You have to stick around. It'll be worthwhile, trust, because this is unprecedented times.
Oh my God. Okay. So the moons, if you're new here, we're all about manifesting. We're all about manifesting our original Rich-Bixch experiences. And we've been working with the moon cycle to accelerate our manifestations. And so I remember for fall, there was only like 2 full moons to use for manifesting. Normally, I was expecting 3, right? But like something with December.
Oh, because of the eclipse.
Okay.
We're a little cautious around those. I have one of those takes where it's like, some people will say, oh, don't do any kind of manifesting or ritual at the eclipses. I say don't do that at the full moon eclipses, which are the lunar eclipses, but solar eclipses are fine with flexibility. Flexibility being like, sure, like make a vision board, put out a list of things that you want to accomplish. I'm big on goal setting. But be careful in your word choice. It's one of those things where like you can kind of, like, for example, my friend was like hanging out at her friend's house and she goes, oh, like, I think I might like a dog. That's kind of cool. Or a pet. And then a week later, cat comes up on her front doorstep. And then she's like, I manifested a cat.
The distribution system.
And now it's here.
Yep.
So you be careful what you wish for.
Okay. So with that, I would love to know what moons are coming up for winter, the themes of the moons, when they're happening, and what we can kind of work with for each theme.
So the first one of this season, new moon in Capricorn.
Okay.
On December 30th. If you've been around here in the slightest, I loathe the idea of January 1st New Year's resolutions. Throw it out the door forever.
Yeah. It's like
It's
a
fake.
commercial holiday.
It's fake.
It's a commercial holiday for sure.
It's not a new year. The Gregorian calendar was made by the church. It's all about control. I'll end it there. Just don't do it. Don't do it. If you think about it this way, practical psychology, if you start setting intentions, you set all these goals, I'm going to change my entire life this year, and you put that out on January 1st when you're in the middle of seasonal depression, you just ate your weight in Christmas cookies, which, by the way, pop off, you should, and
Slay.
You're like not in the middle of work, everything feels chaotic, no one is online. How in the world are you expected to maintain and keep up with those goals? You're going to be an immediate failure and you're going to hate yourself for it. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up for that. Instead, use the new moon every single month to do micro goals and say, here's just a couple things that I'm going to work towards over the next 6 months and start fresh. So if you're like, well, I really like the idea of working with the 12-month calendar that starts in January, I understand we all need a little bit of time to break out of the matrix. It's okay. Start on December 30th because that is the new moon.
Okay.
So December 30th is a great time. You can set your goals and your intentions and be like, this is what I want to do for 2025. Just do it December 30th or the 31st because we're still under the energy of the new moon in Capricorn. And this one's all about building. You know this. You're a Capricorn, Ava.
Oof.
How do you feel about it?
Oof.
When you hear Capricorn and building, it's like it's encouraging you to lay the foundation and lay the bricks and like think about the future.
I know. And I'm like, again, always, constantly, perpetually, fine.
And the rest of us are like, okay, I could get a little bit of foundation. Like, how can I outline my quarters this year to, exceed what I did last year or maybe break some habits? Those kinds of things, the practical things that you're like, yeah, I should probably do that if I want to be a little bit better version of myself next year. This is the one for that.
Okay. So getting serious.
And then check your progress on that one, July 10th of 2025.
Okay.
6 months later. Break it down into micro goals.
Yeah, you're good at those.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one, I actually like the timing of this.
I like it too.
Because it's not too far off of the Jan one.
Sure.
So for anyone who's wanting to switch their methods of manifestation and goal setting, December 30th feels pretty normal.
Yeah.
So I think this past year, it was like right around the first day of winter. You know, like it always falls somewhere different.
Yeah.
And you taught me that. So I like that this new moon is around the theme of like Capricorn, getting serious, like making some plans. And that is kind of happening in conjunction with the first almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about for February?
My iPad just died.
Your iPad just died.
My phone has it though.
You really have a technology thing.
I really do. I drain batteries so quickly.
Yeah.
I break the internet. Like the Wi-Fi goes out all the time.
Hey, at least we have help this time.
Yeah.
This is so lovely.
Every time we do a podcast, it takes us about 2 hours, not really, but like an hour to get set up because
It does. When I record this on my own, we actually have a 30-minute technical issue every time.
Yeah.
But it's a different issue each
I know,
time.
and I always plan for it, and I'm like, okay, like let's make sure that
we
doesn't
solve for
happen.
the previous issue, and then there's a new one.
Yeah.
Okay, so today the iPad is dead, but we're going to retrieve the dates for the February new moon.
Here we go.
Okay, perfect.
It's all here. Okay. So the next one is actually in January.
Oh.
It's going to be January 29th in
Okay.
Aquarius.
Okay.
This one is coming right around. You know, when we were doing high level, like taking everything through step by step, we were talking about how it's important to lean into community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be sad girl at home in the cozies. Like, do it a little bit, lean into winter, but lean into your village part of winter. And that's what is coming up here.
Okay.
New Moon Aquarius and Aquarius energy is all about your social network, online and offline.
Yes.
So make a new friend.
On
Have
the
a
internet.
gathering. Like have a anti-holiday gathering. Like by January 29th, 30th,
Yeah.
you've rested enough after the holidays. And now you're probably like, hey, maybe I actually want to get out and do something, hang out with people. I think the theme is get yourself out of a rut.
Okay.
Try something that takes you 10 to 20% outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying give yourself a nervous breakdown,
No.
but something that you're kind of like, kind of been thinking about doing that, but it makes me a little nervous.
Try a new class, hobby.
Yeah.
Do something you wouldn't normally do. Go somewhere new.
Yeah. Go out to lunch with a new friend.
Celebrate my birthday on February 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
In community.
Host a dinner.
Online and in person.
Like this is like a winter dinner party season.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. I like this one. And those will come together August 9th, 2025.
The goals set at that time will
Yeah.
come together in August. Okay.
And then we have one more
Yes.
of this period, and this is the one in Pisces. And it also fits with the theme, which is why that period of the podcast explaining it felt so chaotic, because it is chaotic. It makes no sense.
It really felt chaotic. I was like, oof, this is an air sign episode. Like, we're going there.
Like that is just, it doesn't make any sense. So this new moon in Pisces squares Jupiter. So that is math talk for it creates these false promises. It creates these like illusions of grandeur that don't really manifest into material. It's kind of like, you've heard the phrase rose-colored glasses. Well, add some glitter confetti into it, and then you're really thinking that things are happening, but your eyes might be bigger than your stomach. That's kind of it.
Okay.
Which is why I'm like, okay, back to the piñata. It's like, what's going to come out of this piñata? Like, don't be delusional about it. Be hopeful, but within reality means, and define what that is, because I think it will be kind of tricky to define what that is at that point. Like, the late February Pisces season is just a really strange one this year. It's really hard to pinpoint. It's really hard to nail down. And if you know anything about Pisces energy, it's like the octopus that claws its way out of its cage.
Yeah.
It's the escape artist. It's elusive. It's confusing. It's like I always get these visuals, and I always see like trying to hold a big mouth bass that's like flapping around, but your hands are like covered in like olive oil or something, and it's just like sliding everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm Southern.
I know what a bass is. We have fishing in Minnesota. Lots of bass.
Yeah.
Actually. No. Okay, the olive oil on the fish. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, it's slippery, it's confusing, it's chaotic. So what kind of
Grounding.
goals should we set?
Setting goals, I think, really need to be within means. Like, okay, for example, you're not going to come in here and be like, I'm ready to buy my Beverly Hills mansion when you're renting an apartment that's $1,500.
Oh, okay.
I mean, maybe you've been renting a $1,500 apartment to save up money for that, but that's not really like the kind of leap that you make very quickly most of the time. I'm talking about be more incremental in your process.
Okay.
Because I think we can overshoot and miss at this one. And that, again, is February 27th. And those will come back around September 7th, which is also an eclipse season. So eclipse season to eclipse season. The February 27th is not an eclipse, but it is the last one before an eclipse season. So we kind of enter that messy. I always describe eclipses as like a washing machine that's on the spin cycle.
Yes, I remember.
Remember last time we were talking about the G-force ride?
Yes.
It really was like a G-force ride.
Yeah,
like this last time.
Agreed.
I don't think this will be a G-force ride. I think they will just be kind of like unpredictable. Like, what does this mean? Where is this going? Oh, can I maybe get a little lucky with this? Can I push the envelope? Like, oh, don't get cocky. That's a good one for this one. You're like, yeah, I can skirt the rules on this, or I can cut some corners. You're going to get found out in September if you do that. Unfortunately, I promise.
Okay. So be so fucking for real.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a tax season. Like, you know, be careful. Be careful with stuff like that. You know, if we're dealing with, like, okay, I'm going to try to file my taxes in January with all that Capricorn Aquarius. And I never do that because I'm a Gemini procrastinator.
Yeah.
But with all this messiness, I'm really going to try to get that out of the way because I can just see myself totally just, and I'm not trusting other people too, just to like completely just brain fart. Like that feels like this month of March.
Okay. It seems weird, and I'm really not looking forward to it, is how I'm interpreting it on my side.
I'm kind of looking at it as like the pop-up circus.
Uh-huh. Traveling?
Yeah, you never know what you're going to encounter.
But we all have tickets to the show.
And there's a lot of clowns.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to setting goals, if we want to set goals that are like sounds like practical, grounded, and like need to just be like serious.
Yeah.
The Capricorn new moon. Okay. Then we've got the February new moon. And this is
January 29th, but it's an Aquarius season.
Aquarius. My brain is twisting. Thank you.
You're right.
Then we have the Aquarius new moon.
Yeah.
And this one's really more about starting to be a little bit social, doing something very demure, very mindful, but also fun.
Yeah.
So having a small dinner party, not a giant rave, but something, goals around connecting with community. And then in March, good luck. Pisces season, I know about fish, but I don't really know how to fish. So just be realistic in whatever you feel like you want to set goals around.
It's a good month for sobriety.
Oh, okay.
Like that could be a good personal goal. Like, I mean, Sober Curious really started back when Saturn entered Pisces back in March of 2023. Like that's when things started to become really popular in that area. And so I'm like, okay, maybe you do a month without alcohol or weed or whatever your vice is. Maybe you're like, I'm going to just pull back for a while and see what my baseline is.
Yeah.
For mental health purposes. Like mental health goals are a good thing to set.
Okay.
Anything that's more like, I want to get into a daily meditation practice. Okay, that sounds like a lot, but maybe you ease into it and you're like, okay, maybe every other day, or maybe it's a walking meditation, or even just some kind of movement to get me out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's more helpful because at first I wasn't quite sure what I would manifest for Pisces season, but that helps.
Yeah. So the first thing is like, don't overdo it. Don't overexpand yourself.
Yeah.
Don't overextend, and don't be cocky. And then on the practical side is like, okay, here's what you should do. Mental health, self-love, gentle self-care, and also like checking out, like take a vacation. Like that could be when you're like, okay, I'm really maybe manifesting like a trip that really allows me to escape and pull away from everything. Like sometimes an escape is really healthy.
I'm laughing because I'm like, can you imagine that's when you go on your cruise? You're like,
you go on a cruise, the world is crumbling, there's a literal circus happening, and you don't have phone service, and then you come back and you're like tanned and you're like, what's wrong?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's helpful. Should we shift gears quickly and just give a high-level vibe for the astrology of 2025? As a year, I know we've talked about the first couple of months within winter, but KJ, I'm getting a lot of like direct questions about this. And I'm seeing a lot of other like conversation around 2025. You've actually been telling me for a while that 2025 is going to be a big year. So what could we talk about now without getting too into the weeds to give people like a little peace of mind if they're really like, what is going to happen?
2025 is when the contractions are now about a minute apart, and you're like, this high-risk pregnancy is coming soon.
Okay.
So
serious.
Yeah, I think I have struggled to really be honest and hopeful at the same time about some of these things. And that's not to be doom and gloom. But I do think that, you know, when we kind of romanticize as millennials, like, wow, like, I don't know, was it 2015 was so good? Or we like, oh, 2009 was so good. And it's like, I don't know if we're going to get that for a little bit.
Okay.
Because, I mean, just kind of pull back and not think about your own life and think about the things that maybe your grandparents or your great-grandparents lived through. Hypothetically, I'm not alluding that this is what it's like, but, you know, the years leading up to the Depression probably weren't that easy for people on a individual scale. You know, leading up to World War II, that was not easy. Then we even go back even further, you know, the Revolutionary War, when people were moving from Europe and the UK to come to the US, like there's always been these times of these big catastrophic life events that really changed the course of history. And besides 2020, I don't feel like we've had one in the US since 9/11.
Yeah.
Even then, on the scale of some of those things, that's a little bit smaller, just in the scale of like the time span of what was going on, like one event versus, you know, a massive period of like the Great Depression. So I don't think we've really experienced anything that's been, we haven't reached our peak of what we're able to handle.
Oh.
And I think it's going to be really interesting because hang with me here. Yeah. Because this is going to turn hopeful.
Okay.
Because once
Did you see me squirming in my chair?
Once we get to the point of like, whoa, like we're kind of reaching this crux point, then is when we get really creative. And that's when we're like, okay, everything is actually changing. If you've listened to probably any astrology or any sort of anything in this realm of forecasting, people have been like, wow, like 2020 and we're in like the US Pluto return and there's all this stuff and it's like the US is going to crumble. And everyone's like, yeah. Well, like we might actually be there.
Oh, wow.
But it does need to shift.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of things are really outdated. Like the Electoral College is really antiquated. Like that's just one example. There's so many things that we do. Even our voting system. I'm like, well, how does that even work?
Yeah.
How in the world are we expected to tally up that many millions of people?
Great question. Great question.
I don't have
How
a
does
solution.
that work?
I don't have a solution
does that
for
work?
it, but I know that there are people who might. And so I do think we have to reach these pinnacles of really bad in order to get to a breaking point. Like I was talking to a girlfriend the other night and she was like, yeah, I had to wait until my relationship got so bad in order for me to leave. And I was like, ooh, we have to reach our breaking point. So if we get into the astrology, since 2008, since 2011, 2013, and then even 6 years ago, like late 2017, 2018. So it all started 2008. We've been in what's known as like a yin outer planet cycle.
Okay.
So our 3 outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they move really slowly and they stay in signs for a very long time. Pluto, 14 to 20 years. Like it's really long, sometimes longer, depending on the orbit. Neptune, average 14, Uranus 6. Those are big chunks of our lives. You know, these planets define the personality of a generation. Millennials have Pluto and Scorpio. And Pluto is moving into Aquarius, or has moved into Aquarius by November 19th, and it will be there until 2042.
Yeah.
Neptune is leaving Pisces, where it's been at home, causing mass delusion, mass conspiracy, and confusion. And people are kind of breaking away from religion and then finding other things that are just kind of like the same thing, that are just replacements for that need for control. And we're breaking out of that. Neptune's going to move into Aries, the go-getter warrior. And then Uranus in Taurus, the peaceful bull, it's been chilling out in the park, resisting change, moves into chaotic Gemini in June. And so all these changes start happening from March until June. So we're having all these outer planets shift from the yin, building up, thinking, holding it in, to the burst. And that's why I was like, the contractions are 1 minute apart.
Yeah.
Like, we're not there yet, but it's getting to a point where the baby's coming.
Okay.
And the baby is this kind of paradigm shift. You know, we really do need to adapt and usher into what is it like to live with this much technology? What is its effect on us? That might be one example.
Yeah.
What is it like to have so many people who are able to live globally? Like, globalism is going to be like this thing, and that's a really big topic that's way outside of my scope. But I do think that as, you know, Pluto moves into Aquarius, it is more about like this, how do people live in many different countries, you know, as nomads? Or, you know, what are our solutions for immigration? Are more people going to learn more languages? You know, are we going to have global currencies, you know, crypto and all this stuff?
Yeah.
So I think it's these crises happening have just been begging for a change. And change has to happen. And even if it looks really bad, I'm like, this all makes sense. Like, it makes sense that we had to be shown all these horrible options of a direction that we could go in order for, if you're on TikTok and you've seen all the women talk about Lilith and Hecate rising in November.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to be pushed to a limit sometimes in order to take action. And so we're going from inaction to action. And that's his big overarching theme. And I don't think we'll really see the results of it until like 2027.
Okay.
So it is this slower period. And it's like, 2 years of like metaphorically giving birth to a new way of existing.
Yeah.
Ick. I don't want to do that.
Wow.
But it's going to be better. And like I was just thinking about like what our ancestors went through, like what our female ancestors did. I recently discovered that one of my female ancestors was actually a spy in the American Revolution and was a good friend of George Washington. And when her husband was captured, she took over his job and was doing espionage and giving information to George Washington.
Wow.
And I was like, if she can do that and I have the same blood, like I can handle anything. Like we really can get through it.
Yeah.
And the women before us had to deal with so much worse.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. But I've heard that childbirth contractions really hurt.
Yeah. So it's going to be better.
Yeah.
But the process of change could be painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like you're right. I mean, 2025, based on that snapshot, sounds like a really big year.
It is. And that's why it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I like being a hope dealer.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to be a truth dealer.
Yep. Ideally both.
Yeah.
So having that in mind, like what's the best like word of advice, theme, like what would you offer for the best way to proceed in 2025?
Number 1 is define your locus of control.
Okay.
What are the little things that you can take care of every single day? Stick with them. Number 2, form your Mayday. Some women are Junes and some women are Serena Joys. So go find your Junes and keep your group tight. And thirdly, define your role in La Revolution.
Yeah.
Like, what are your strengths?
Mm-hmm.
What are your talents? Like, what are you good at? Because, some people are really good community organizers. Like, I could not do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
What can you do to help other people, to help yourself? I saw something the other day that said, like, when times are getting really hard and intense, like, don't obey prematurely.
Oh, interesting.
Like, there is a big astrological theme happening in the fall and into the winter of, like, the dark feminine rising.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, I'm not evil, but I also don't put up with shit.
Yeah.
Here's where I draw the line. And I'm a lot more powerful than you think. And it manifests differently for every single human. And I say human because it's not just about women.
Right.
It's about men. It's about trans. It's about non-binary. It doesn't matter your gender. Like, everyone has the divine feminine.
Yeah.
And it is waking up. And she's not happy. But it's going to be this important introduction. It has to happen. It's a catalyst for all this. So focus on the little things, community, and be a little bit more, I'm really leaning into this, rebellious and outspoken and fearless. Because when things start to get a little scary, it's like your capacity to be brave has to be a little bit more.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's okay to be a little uncomfortable. Like, let yourself grow a lot this year.
Okay. I love that. That's helpful. Very inspiring.
Really? I hope so, because it's really hard. It's like...
It is.
I remember talking about, like, 2022 astrology and being just like, this feels so good. Like, we're getting out of the pandemic stuff, and, like, here's this. And, like, it was kind of like a lull for a second of, like, coming out of 2022 and into 2023. It was, like, normal life for a sec.
Yeah.
And then it kind of was like, yeah, well, that was just a commercial break.
Yeah, we don't know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're going to find a new way forward.
I mean, I met a woman who is a trans peyote shaman in Mexico who lived in Oaxaca for like 20 years and she was deemed by her tribe as a two-spirited special person who has the ability to channel, and then used peyote to channel lots of insights and downloads, and created a calendar with the zodiac and the Mayan calendar. And she was the owner of my Airbnb in Mexico City, and I would just like go down there and talk to her all the time. And she was like making bracelets, and she goes, "Just you wait until 2027." And I was like, "Well, what's going to happen?" And she was like, "It's the rebirth of the world. It's the rebirth of Mama Gaia." I was like, "What does that mean?" And she was like, "I can't even put it into words. You just have to wait."
It always goes something like that.
And I was like, "Okay, well, if the magical unicorn trans peyote shaman says that's true, then damn it, believe it."
That's true.
2027. Mark your calendars.
There you go. There you go. Well, I look forward to that. I think we've got a really good kind of overview of what's going to come up for winter.
Yeah.
I feel a little more prepared now. Also helpful to have that context for 2025. Sounds like it is as crazy as we're all anticipating it might be. But I think you've offered some really helpful thoughts, methodologies of like working through things, like areas of focus, like shifting around. Like I feel like you've given us some tools, and that's exactly what astrology does. It gives us some tools to navigate our individual experience within this collective experience. And I mean, we have no choice, like you said, so bring it on. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the More Pod fam today? Do you have anything coming up? Do you have any words of wisdom? What's the last take?
As you were saying that, I was like, okay, get to know your birth chart, because that will tell you your role in anything, the revolution or whatever. Like, what is your blueprint and purpose? So that's a big part. And like I said, focus on the little things. Like, do your new moon goal setting every month if you can. And that's what I'm doing as a group on January 3rd, is getting everyone together to map that out for the year. So that's a fun lunchtime workshop. If you can make it, if you can't, it'll be recorded, and you'll know how to map and set your goals for the entire year ahead using your chart and the energy and the themes that are coming, so that you can set better goals and manifest all of your original Rich-Bixch experiences.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. We will drop all of that in the show notes. We will also put the link to YouTube in the show notes so you can subscribe and watch us yap. It's really cute. And I'm just so glad that we could do this. I love our forecasts. I think they're just such a great tool. And for me, selfishly, it's like such a fun time to get together and do this. It's so fun. And this just took it to the next level, and it feels like a really special moment. So
I think so too.
Thank you for sharing it with me.
Oh, honored.
Yay.
Love you, Ava.
Love you. Listen to the More Pod every Wednesday as I share the things that make me more me and discover a thing or two to make you more you.